Ladies and gentlemen, manga and anime thrives between two different aspects. Either it's over-the-top gratuitous sexuality or over-the-top gratuitous violence. There are people who very much enjoy the overt sexuality that comes with ecchi and hentai manga, and there are people who enjoy nothing more than seeing a guy get his head ripped off or a guy blown to bits. Now, I have always been a proponent of just enjoy whatever the hell you want. Enjoy it whether it has women with the biggest breasts you've ever seen, dudes with the largest dongs you've ever seen, or you really enjoyed seeing a guy get his head ripped off. Now, the reason I am prefacing this video with this message is because I need you guys to understand that the manga I am about to review is much more than a woman with very large breasts. It's a very large aspect of it, but it's not the only thing that makes this manga what it is. And what am I thinking? What's going on, folks? Zach from Uchuu Shelf here. Hope you guys are doing good and reading lots of manga. Today, I'm bringing you a special review courtesy of 7 Seas Entertainment, who was kind enough to provide me with an advanced digital copy of Hiroya Oku of Gantz fame's new manga, Gigant. So without further ado, let's jump into it. If you have been a fan of anime or manga in any capacity for any duration of time, there's a very good chance you've heard of either Gantz or Inuyashiki. Now, I see Hiroya Oku get a lot of crap online because his manga is very much catered to one demographic, and even in interviews, he says, you know what, yeah, I draw all of my female characters with huge boobs because I like huge boobs. And you know what? That's fine. Everybody has their preference, and you gotta give it to him. He knows what he likes, and he plays to that strength in every manga he creates. Now, for anyone flipping through the pages of Gigant, you may think it's just a hentai. I know I did the first time I read it. I was like, this is just hentai. There's no substance to this at all. But like every other Hiroya Oku manga, once you dig into it, and once you really get into it, and once you understand the characters, their intentions, and the world behind them, there is a lot more heart and soul than what meets the eye. So, Gigant follows a young high schooler named Ray. Ray wants to become a filmmaker when he grows up. He's very much into American films and other modern filmmakers. He discusses this at length with his friends, and on top of his fandom of films in general, he wants to become a director at some point in his life. So, like any good director, he starts out with a camcorder in high school. He's written a movie, and he wants a popular, attractive girl in his class to star in it. Then her boyfriend basically says no. She drops out of the movie, and he's back to square one. That was pretty much his way of both earning his chops as a filmmaker and trying to get with the girl he has a crush on. Now, in addition to this penchant for filmmaking, he's also a somewhat secretive, huge fan of the porn star Papico. Now, Papico has... how can I delicately put this? I think this should give you a good idea of what I'm talking about. Now, eventually, rumors go around that Papico lives in Ray's neighborhood. Eventually, he sees posters that are up that says, hey, Papico lives in this neighborhood. If you find her, she'll, well, you can kind of guess what I'm getting at. Now, as a huge fan of Papico, Ray says, you know what, this is actually quite disrespectful of all the things that... Anyway. He starts ripping all the posters down, and as he's doing so, Papico walks by and says, like, oh, so you did this? And he's like, no, I would never do this, you know, And she says, oh, well, then why are you ripping them down? And he explains, you know, I'm a huge fan of yours. I think this is really disrespectful. I don't understand why anyone would do this. She sees this as very heartwarming and invites him out for a drink. They, of course, exchange phone numbers and, for whatever reason, become good friends. Now, as the story progresses, there's this weird dude who's like, he's wearing a helmet, he's got a striped shirt, and, like, tighty whities on. He's walking through with a backpack, muttering to himself. Now, actually, he does kind of remind me of the Tanaka aliens from Gantz, but that's, you know, I won't get into that. Actually, you know what? I am going to get into that. Very quick sidebar. Like with Inuyashiki, there is a lot of callbacks to his other series. I don't mean like, oh, look, it's that kind of looks like a character from Gantz or Inuyashiki. No, I mean full-on discussions. For example, Papico and Ray are talking on Twitter, and she says, like, I need a new anime to watch. What should I watch? And they both start gushing about Inuyashiki. There's also points where they just talk about Gantz out in the open. Like, Gantz is just the best anime and manga in the world. I mean, it is. It's kind of like when Stan Lee was in pretty much anything he created. Anyways, I digress. So Papico sees this weird guy laying at the side of the road. He's been hit by a car or something. He's bleeding, and she goes to help him. She's a very caring person. So she gets down there and she's like, oh my goodness, what happened to you? And he slaps something on her wrist. It looks like kind of a little watch dial. So she says, what the heck? Like, what was that all about? He's turned into a doll. She has this thing stuck in her arm. And, you know, just when you think it can't get any weirder, Hiroya Oku, as always, ups the ante. As it turns out, the thing on her wrist allows her to just grow in size. That's all it is. There's no, like, special powers about it. There's no really cool super suits or anything. She just gets bigger. And when I say bigger, she gets gigantic. Get it? Now, in true Hiroya Oku fashion, when Papico grows big, her clothes do not grow with her. I'll let your imagination run wild because it's exactly what you imagine. Now, being a porn star, she kind of reveals this to one of her directors, and he says, money! Yes! We're gonna make money with that. And she does. She films a whole adult video doing it. There's a very weird scene where there's just two dudes and she's big, and we'll just leave it there. I mean, again, I can't even say what it is. It's just not child friendly. Now, later on, Papico and Ray are watching a DVD that was left behind by this weird dude that gave Papico the weird wrist thing. Ray has already watched it beforehand. He's more fascinated with the fact that they fit over 100 hours onto this really small CD. But what Ray deduces is that it's actually video footage from the future. Now, before we can even get into what that means, Papico shows Ray that she can grow big, and then she shrinks back. Now, of course, this leaves her nude, and right at that time, her abusive boyfriend comes in, sees her naked in front of a high schooler, and says, yeah, this isn't on. He absolutely loses his mind. She eventually calms him down. They break up, and Papico and Ray decide that they're going to figure out what the mystery behind all this is together. The story progresses at the end of the manga, where it's revealed that there is a website called ETE, which stands for Enjoy the End, that essentially sees people go onto this website, they vote for just really weird things to happen, and the top vote at the end of the poll basically comes true. So, for example, it starts raining poop. I'm not even kidding. Another poll has a very famous celebrity basically running naked, streaking through the very busy streets of Tokyo. And then another one is essentially a magnitude 5 earthquake that comes true. And that's where the manga ends. Whatever role Enjoy the End plays in the remainder of the manga, it's very clear that it is going to play into some very insidious stuff, in which Papico is going to have to be the hero that perhaps not everybody wants, but absolutely needs. I have said this before, that when it comes time for me to review Gigant, and it was only a matter of time that I would actually get into it, that I would urge you to absolutely check it out, because it is a lot more than meets the eye. There is more to it than just a naked, huge porn star just getting big and doing what you would imagine a naked porn star would do. And there's more than just this self-insert sponge of a main character. I will admit, that's what it very much seems like when you first get into it, but there's a lot to look past. If you've read anything by Hiroya Oku before, you'll absolutely understand that while he definitely layers on the sex and the gore and the violence, that there is definitely a very psychological aspect to it, and I have a very good feeling that Gigant is no exception. Now, what I love about this is that when you look at Papico, all you're gonna see is, but there's a lot more to her than that. There's a lot more to her character that adds a lot of depth to the world itself. Papico's father was Swedish, so she's half Swedish and half Japanese. She's not in much contact with her family because her family obviously doesn't approve of either her or her profession, but they love her money, so they rely on her, and she gives them money, and she feels useless. She feels like there are only two things she can provide to the world, her body and her money. You know what? I can't imagine that's a very good position to be in. I can't imagine how that would feel. Now she has an interesting power in her life, which I think is going to give her life a bit more purpose and see her kind of go beyond what she thinks she is. She obviously has low self-esteem when it comes to these aspects of her life, but I think this power is going to give her kind of a purpose in life, something that gives her a lot more drive and something that lets her wake up in the morning and say, you know what, yeah, I'm going to use this power to save the people I love. I'm going to use this power to save the world. I'm going to show people that I am more than just a big titty porn star. This is a story about a young woman who is struggling to belong, struggling to find her place in the world, and wanting to feel needed in a capacity that serves people beneficially, more so than being a porn actress would. Because there's got to be something isolating about being a porn star that is somewhat well known, but having no one to rely on and having people only rely on you kind of in secrecy. Now, admittedly, the first volume is a bit of a slow burn. It takes quite a bit to get into the sci-fi aspect of it, but I just have to say, trust Oku. If there's one thing that Hiroya Oku knows, other than drawing women with absolutely massive bazongas, it's science fiction and violence. He is unmatched in both of those realms of manga, and it's something that he has made a trademark for himself. Now, where I think this manga is going is that people are going to use Enjoy the End for very malicious purposes. They're going to start calling in things that only Papico is going to be able to fight against. Because now that she has an enormous size, she's going to be the only thing that can fight against it. It's going to be interesting to see how the relationship between Ray and Papico unfolds. I've heard things, and I'm not sure if they're true, and if they are, it's a little weird, I will admit. But regardless, as I've said, we gotta trust Oku. There's a few things that Oku does know, and he plays to all of those strengths in Volume 1 of Gigant. Now, you can pick up Gigant by Hiroya Oku from 7 Seas Entertainment on March 10th, 2020, in anywhere that sells manga, so like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Waterstones. Wherever they sell manga, you're guaranteed to find it here. Once again, a huge shout out to 7 Seas Entertainment for hooking me up with an advanced digital review copy. I'm still going to buy the physical copy because I do absolutely love Hiroya Oku. And I love the fact that someone was ballsy enough to put this manga out, knowing that people are going to read the first volume or the first few volumes and think, yeah, there is nothing more to this than boobs. And hopefully this review helps some people out there see past the giant breasts and see it for a wonderfully crafted story that it is. Now, if you do want to check out Gigant, I'll leave some links where you can pre-order it in the description below. And as always, don't forget to support legal manga. Go to www.wherecanIreadmanga.com to get the lowdown on where you guys can read manga for free, through a subscription, or per volume. And do it all in a way that benefits the manga industry. Because supporting the manga industry supports creators, which lets them create more manga, which we get to see overseas. It's a win-win for everyone. But until next time, folks, happy reading.